The morning sun filtered through the massive transparisteel dome of New Geneva Academy, casting rainbow patterns across the polished floors. Unlike the space stations that dotted the galaxy's trade routes, this prestigious school was built into the mountainside of Earth's Swiss Alps, its architecture blending seamlessly with the natural rock formations. Students from dozens of worlds walked the halls beneath soaring ceilings that mimicked cathedral spaces, while holographic displays showed real-time feeds from their home planets. 12-year-old Lily Chun pressed her face against the observation deck window, watching shuttles from across the galaxy descend toward the landing platforms carved into the mountainside. Today was Pet Day, the Academy's most cherished tradition, and her stomach churned with a mixture of excitement and terror. "Still nervous about your presentation?" asked Zara, her Zentari roommate, whose crystalline skin caught the light like a living prism. The floating crystal jellies in her terrarium pulsed with sympathetic blue hues. Sensing their owner's concern, Lily nodded, clutching the small device in her pocket. "What if they don't understand? What if they think I'm dangerous?" Through the corridors, other students prepared their companions for display. The Cathara twins harmonized with their singing moss colonies, creating melodies that made the very walls seem to hum. Vex, a young Valen, carefully arranged perches for his rainbow-winged fluttermites, their gossamer wings creating tiny aurora displays as they moved. The Academy's architecture itself seemed designed to celebrate this diversity. Each classroom pod was built like a natural amphitheater, with curved walls that acoustically balanced the various sounds and frequencies of intergalactic communication. Gardens flowed between buildings, featuring flora from dozens of worlds, creating an environment where every species could find something familiar. Principal Arcturus, a dignified Altarian whose silver feathers rustled with authority, announced over the intercom system that connected every corner of the mountain facility, "Students, please gather in the main assembly hall for Pet Day presentations. Remember, this celebration honors the sacred bonds between conscious beings and their chosen companions." As students filed through corridors lined with trophy cases showcasing centuries of peaceful achievements, Lily felt the weight of history. The Academy had never seen a human student before, and certainly never a human's idea of a companion animal. She thought of her grandfather's stories about the old days on Earth, when humans and their partners had explored uncharted wilderness, together, facing dangers that would terrify most galactic citizens. Those partnerships had been forged in necessity, tested by survival, and strengthened by absolute trust. "Whatever you're bringing," whispered Kai, a young Delphinian whose spots shifted color with emotion, "it can't be scarier than Thorax's acid-spitting tunnel vorms." Lily almost laughed, thinking of the gentle creature waiting in the specialized transport chamber. If only they knew that what they considered terrifying was nothing compared to what had once roamed Earth's ancient forests alongside humanity's ancestors. As they entered the vast assembly hall, with its living walls covered in bioluminescent vines from Kepler 442b, Lily made her decision. Today, the galaxy would learn what it truly meant to be human. Today, they would meet Rex. The chamber's environmental controls automatically adjusted to accommodate each species' needs, creating microclimates throughout the space. It was a perfect metaphor for what the Academy represented: unity through understanding, harmony through acceptance of differences. But Lily wondered if that acceptance would extend to humanity's oldest and most misunderstood alliance. The assembly hall fell silent as Lily approached the presentation platform, a circular stage surrounded by terraced seating that curved upward like a natural amphitheater. Bioluminescent panels in the walls dimmed automatically, focusing attention on the center, where a specialized materialization chamber hummed with quiet energy. "Fellow students," Lily began, her voice carried by the hall's perfect acoustics too. Every corner where representatives of 17 different species sat in eager anticipation. On Earth, we have a saying, "A dog is humanity's best friend." Today, I'd like you to meet mine. She pressed the activation button on her remote device. The chamber's energy field shimmered, and matter began to materialize within the transparent containment area. First, a massive paw appeared, then another, followed by powerful legs, a deep chest, and finally the noble head of an adult German shepherd. Rex opened his eyes and immediately spotted Lily through the chamber's transparent walls. His tail began wagging with the enthusiasm of a creature seeing his beloved human after what felt like an eternity. The reaction was instantaneous and catastrophic. Zara's crystal jellies turned bright red and shattered their terrarium in panic. The Kithara twins' singing Nos colonies produced a discordant shriek that made the hall's acoustic dampeners overload. Vex's rainbow flittermites swarmed toward the ceiling in a chaotic kaleidoscope of terror. Apex Predator detected, blared the automated security system. All students evacuate immediately. Security teams to assembly hall. Students scrambled over each other in their rush to escape. Thorok, whose acid-spitting tunnel worms were supposedly the most dangerous pets in the academy, fainted at the sight. Of Rex's perfectly normal canine yawn, which revealed teeth that alien sensors registered, optimized killing instruments. "Wait!" Lily shouted over the chaos, but her voice was drowned out by Rex's confused barking. To him, all the screaming and running meant his human was in danger, so he did what 60,000 years of evolution had programmed him to do. He barked louder to ward off threats and paced within his chamber, every muscle ready to protect his. Principal Arcturus activated emergency shields around the platform, while Security Chief Vanguard, a battle-scarred Chronon veteran, materialized with a full combat team. Their weapons were trained on the chamber, containing what their scanners identified as a quadrupedal killing machine capable of crushing most galactic standard bones with a single bite force measurement. Miss Chun, Principal Arcturus commanded through the emergency communication system. Step away from the creature immediately. Our xenobiologists will need to study its containment requirements before. His name is Rex, Lily interrupted, walking calmly toward the chamber, despite the weapons trained in her direction. And he's not a creature. He's my best friend. Through the transparent walls, Rex could see his human approaching. His tail wagged harder, and he playfully bowed in the universal canine gesture of "let's play." To the security team, this looked like a predator preparing to pounce. "The specimen is exhibiting pre-attack behavior," Chief Vanguard reported. "Recommend immediate stun protocols." "No." Lily pressed her hands against the chamber wall, and Rex immediately sat, looking at her with absolute attention and devotion. "He's just happy to see me. Watch." She raised her hand in a simple gesture, and Rex lay down, rolled over, and presented his belly to her through the transparent barrier. The hall fell silent except for the sound of Rex's continued tail wagging against the chamber floor. For the first time in their lives, the students of the Intergalactic Academy witnessed something they had never imagined. A creature capable of violence choosing gentleness. A predator displaying complete submission and trust. But before anyone could process what they were seeing, new alarms began blaring throughout the mountain facility. These weren't security alerts about Rex. These were external threat warnings that sent ice through every student's veins. "Incoming hostile vessels," announced the Academy's defense system. "Pirate attack imminent. All students to emergency shelters." The misunderstanding about Rex had drawn every security officer to the assembly hall, leaving the Academy's perimeter defenses undermanned, just as the notorious Shadowclaw pirates detected what they believed was a distress signal from a vulnerable educational facility. The mountain facility shuddered as the first pirate blaster cannons struck the outer defensive shields. Through the assembly hall's massive transparisteel dome, students could see the distinctive black ships of the Shadowclaw pirates, ascending like metallic vultures against the alpine sky. "This is impossible," Principal Arcturus muttered, his silver feathers ruffling with disbelief. "The Academy has been neutral territory for over 2 centuries. Pirates don't attack educational institutions." Security Chief Vanguard's scarred face twisted into a grimace as he coordinated defensive positions. "They detected our emergency signals about the apex predator. Probably think we're dealing with some kind of valuable bioweapon they can steal." In the chaos of evacuation procedures and defensive preparations, everyone had forgotten about the dangerous creature in the containment chamber. Everyone except Lily, who watched Rex pace anxiously as explosions echoed through the mountain. Corridors. Captain Scare of the Shadowclaw pirates had built his reputation by striking fast and hard against what appeared to be easy targets. Educational facilities meant valuable research, frightened academics, and minimal resistance. His crew of battle-hardened aliens from the galaxy's worst criminal sectors had never encountered serious opposition from any school. "Remember," Scare growled over the communication system as his pirates prepared to breach the facility, "stun the students for ransom, steal anything that looks valuable, and find whatever bioweapon triggered their emergency protocols. Should be easy pickings." The first breach came through the loading docks, carved into the mountainside. Security teams rushed to respond, but they were Academy guards, not battle-hardened soldiers. Within minutes, pirates were pouring into the lower levels, their weapons designed for intimidation as much as destruction. Young Zara huddled in an emergency shelter with her classmates, her crystalline skin flickering with terror as the sounds of battle drew closer. "Where's Lily?" she whispered to Kai, whose spots had turned deep purple with fear. They all knew. Lily was still in the assembly hall with her monster. Meanwhile, Rex had been watching his humans' distress with growing agitation. Every explosion, every sound of conflict, every sign that his pack was in danger triggered instincts bred into his lineage over millennia. The containment chamber that had seemed so secure suddenly became just another obstacle between a guardian and his duty. "I have to let him out," Lily said quietly, her hand on the chamber's manual release. "Absolutely not," Chief Vanguard snapped, though he was clearly torn between containing one threat and fighting another. "That creature could kill every student in the Academy." "Those pirates definitely will," Lily replied, "and before anyone could stop her." She pressed the emergency release button. The chamber's energy field dissolved, and Rex stepped out into the assembly hall for the first time. He was even more impressive outside the containment field, 90 pounds of perfectly coordinated muscle, intelligence, and loyalty, bred from wolves who had once hunted alongside human ancestors. Every remaining person in the hall froze waiting for the bloodbath their sensors had predicted. Instead, Rex walked calmly to Lily's side, sat down, and looked at her with an expression that clearly asked, "What do you need me to do?" The first group of pirates burst into the assembly hall, expecting to find cowering academics. Instead, they found something that no amount of galactic combat experience had prepared them for: a human child standing beside a creature that their own predator recognition systems screened was the apex hunter of a death world. Rex took one look at the armed intruders threatening his human and her pack, and 60,000 years of partnership with humanity activated in an instant. The lead pirate, a massive Grokan warrior covered in battle scars, raised his weapon toward the students. Rex moved. What happened next would be studied by xenobiologists for decades, a demonstration of speed, intelligence, and protective instinct that redefined galactic understanding of human-animal partnerships. Rex didn't just attack, he strategized. Using the hall's architecture, his superior agility, and his intimate knowledge of pack dynamics to neutralize threats while protecting every single student. The pirates had faced battle-hardened warriors across star systems, But they had never encountered an Earth predator, whose entire evolutionary purpose was to guard his family with his life. Asterisk. The assembly hall became a theater of chaos, as Rex demonstrated why humans and canines had conquered their homeworld together. The first Groken pirate never saw him coming one moment. The massive warrior was threatening students with his plasma rifle. The next he was on the ground with 90 pounds of protective fury standing over him, Rex's jaws carefully positioned, at his throat in a grip that promised instant consequences for any aggressive movement. Impossible, breathed Security Chief Vanguard, watching through his tactical display as Rex systematically dismantled the pirate squad's formation. He's not just attacking, he's thinking several moves ahead. The remaining pirates tried to spread out, using standard combat tactics to divide their opponent's attention. They had never encountered a predator whose pack-hunting instincts allowed him to track multiple threats simultaneously while protecting a specific group of vulnerable individuals. Rex's movements were poetry in motion, every leap perfectly calculated. To position himself between the pirates and the students, every bark timed to communicate both warning and location to his human partner. When a Skellan pirate tried to flank around toward the emergency shelters, Rex was there first, his intimidating presence enough to send the alien scrambling back toward his crewmates. "Lily," whispered Principal Arcturus, his voice filled with newfound respect. "How is he doing this?" "He's not just protecting me," Lily explained, her own voice steady with confidence as she watched her companion work. "He's protecting everyone I care about. That makes you all his pack now." Through the facility's communication system, they could hear Captain Scar's growing frustration as his supposedly easy raid turned into a nightmare. "What's happening down there? Report." "Captain," came the panicked response from the assembly. "Hall team, there's something here, some kind of bioweapon that thinks like a tactical genius and moves like lightning. It's not attacking to kill, it's attacking to protect, and that somehow makes it even more terrifying." Rex had cornered the remaining pirates in a defensive circle, but he wasn't moving in for a final attack. Instead, he maintained perfect position close, enough to respond instantly to any threat, far enough back to give them a chance to surrender. His intelligence showed in every decision. This wasn't mindless aggression, but calculated protection. The breakthrough came when young Zara, watching from the emergency shelter entrance, made a connection that would change everything. "Look at his ears," she whispered to her classmates. "Look at his body language. He's not angry, he's working." She was right. Rex's ears were forward and alert, his tail held high with confidence, his entire posture communicating controlled purpose rather than rage. This was a professional doing his job, not a savage creature acting on bloodlust. "What happens if we don't surrender?" the lead Groken pirate asked from his position on the floor, his weapon long since scattered across the hall. Rex tilted his head slightly and made a sound that was part growl, part question, a clear communication that the choice was entirely theirs, but the consequences would be swift and decisive. "Smart question," Lily replied. "Rex was bred from wolves who hunted mammoth alongside my ancestors. But he was also bred to know the difference between threats that need to be stopped and threats that need to be eliminated. Right now, you're just stopped." The psychological impact rippled through the pirate forces throughout the facility. Word spread quickly through their communication networks. The academy wasn't defended by guards or weapons, but by something that fought like a tactical genius and couldn't be intimidated, bribed, or reasoned with, something that would never stop, protecting its pack. Captain Scare, monitoring the situation from his command ship, made the decision that would save his crew. "All teams, withdraw immediately. Whatever they're protecting down, there isn't worth fighting something that thinks like us, but moves like a force of nature." As the pirates retreated toward their ships, Rex maintained his protective position until the last hostile signature disappeared from the Academy's sensors. Only then did he walk calmly back to Lily's side and sit down, looking up at her with an expression that clearly said, "Did I do good?" The assembly hall was completely silent, except for the sound of Rex's tail wagging against the polished floor. For the first time in galactic history, an educational institution had been defended not by weapons or shields, but by the power of unconditional loyalty between two species who had learned to trust each other completely. Principal Arcturus slowly approached the pair, his silver feathers no longer ruffled with fear, but with something approaching awe. "Miss Chun," he said formally, "I believe we owe both you and Rex an apology." In the weeks following what the galactic news networks dubbed the Academy Incident, delegations from across the galaxy arrived at New Geneva Academy to study the phenomenon that had redefined their understanding of interspecies relationships. The assembly hall, once the site of terror and misunderstanding, had been converted into a research center where xenobiologists, philosophers, and diplomats gathered to witness daily demonstrations of human-canine partnership. Rex had become something of a celebrity, though he seemed utterly unbothered by the attention. He spent his days doing what he'd always done, staying close to Lily, playing with students who had overcome their initial fear, and demonstrating the gentle intelligence that had been bred into his lineage over millennia. "The key insight," explained Dr. Thessarian, the galaxy's leading expert on symbiotic relationships, "is that this isn't ownership or domestication as we understand it. This is coevolution two species that shaped each other's development over tens of thousands of years." The academic community was particularly fascinated by Rex's decision-making process during the pirate attack. Analysis of security footage revealed tactical thinking that rivaled military strategists, combined with split-second assessments of threat levels that allowed him to use exactly the right amount of force for each situation. He never attacked to injure unnecessarily, noted Principal Arcturus during one of the daily briefings. Every action was calculated to protect while minimizing harm to all parties, including the pirates themselves. Lily found herself at the center of a cultural revolution as species across the galaxy began reconsidering their own relationships with companion animals. The Xanthari discovered that their crystal jellies could be partners rather than pets, responding to emotional needs with intuitive sensitivity. The Valen learned to work with their fluttermites as environmental sensors, creating early warning systems for atmospheric changes. But the most significant change was in how the galaxy viewed humans themselves. "We classified humans as potentially dangerous," admitted Ambassador Corvin of the Galactic Council during a formal ceremony honoring the Academy's defense. "We never considered that their greatest strength might be their capacity to form alliances with other dangerous creatures, creating partnerships greater than the sum of their parts." The ceremony took place in the rebuilt Assembly Hall, now featuring a permanent exhibit about human-animal partnerships throughout Earth's history. Students from across the galaxy studied displays showing everything from ancient humans hunting with wolves to modern partnerships between humans and dolphins, horses and birds of prey. Rex sat beside Lily during the ambassador's speech, wearing a specially designed collar that translated his body language into holographic displays for the assembled dignitaries. When young Zara approached to pet him, the translation showed contentment, protectiveness, and what the xenobiologists had learned to recognize as canine affection. "The greatest revelation," Zara said during her own presentation to the assembly, "is that strength doesn't have to mean threat. Rex is probably the most dangerous being any of us will ever meet, but he's also the safest because his strength is guided by love and loyalty." Pet Day had been officially renamed Partnership Day, celebrating not just the gentle bonds between species, but the powerful alliances that could form when trust overcame fear. Students now brought companions ranging from the traditional crystal jellies and singing moss to more impressive partners. Cronin students introduced their bonded warbirds, while Delphinian students showcased their partnerships with deep ocean predators from their homeworld. But Rex remained unique, not because of his individual capabilities, but because of what he represented, proof that the most fearsome predators could become the most devoted protectors when raised with understanding, respect, and unconditional love. As the ceremony concluded and students dispersed throughout the mountain facility, Lily and Rex walked together through the Academy's gardens. The bioluminescent plants from Kepler 442b glowed softly in the evening light, while earth daisies that had been specially cultivated for the garden created familiar patches of home. "You know what the best part is?" Lily said to Rex, scratching behind his ears in the way that made his tail wag with pure joy. "They finally understand what I've always known, that the strongest partnerships aren't based on who's in control, but on who trusts who completely." Rex's response was a gentle woof and a nudge against her hand, the same simple communication he'd offered on their first day together years ago on Earth. Some things, after all, didn't need translation. As they walked back toward the dormitories, other students and their companions fell into step around them, not following, but joining. The pack had grown beyond one human and one dog to include crystal jellies, fluttermites, singing moss, and dozens of other species, all united by the understanding that true strength came not from being feared, but from being trusted. The galaxy had learned that monsters existed only in the absence of understanding, and that the greatest adventures began when fear transformed into friendship. In the end, Rex had done more than protect the Academy. He had opened the galaxy's eyes to the unlimited potential of partnerships built on love, loyalty, and mutual respect. And every tail wag, every gentle nuzzle, every protective stance was a reminder that the best monsters were those who chose to be guardians instead. The end.